your own research. Enjoy the show. Good evening, everyone. And of course, welcome back. Yes, to another very exciting episode of Red Pill News Live. Hope you guys are having a lovely day. Thank you so much for joining us. We've got a lot to talk about. We are officially on the clock for Don Lemon Arrest Watch. I just want to say thank you to the Department of Justice, and I want to say, see how easy that was? All you had to do was get on a plane, go, put your mind to it, and here we are, bringing some justice. It's a start. It's not the end. It's just a start. I want to say thank you to Cynthia67. Look forward to the show every day. Well, thank you so much. I look forward to bringing you this show every day. Also want to give a somber announcement to the crowd. You may or may not be aware of a guy, Patriot, been around for a long time. His name is Scotty Marr. He's been making videos for years. Apparently, he passed away last night from a heart attack. I'm going to show you his Rumble channel so you guys can go follow him and take a look at his work. He truly was an asset to the movement, and he's going to be missed. All right, now, if you haven't yet, do me a favor. Hit that like button, help us out by sharing the show, and sit back, relax, and grab your popcorn, because we're going to get into it right about now. All right. Ahoy, Lee Walden. Good to see you, buddy. Thank you so much to everybody out there in the audience. Sober and Stilettos says that failed miserably. What did you fail at miserably, my dear? Either way. All right. So we will go through all of the specifics about the case in Minnesota, Don Lemon, of course. And I just want you to all be aware that this is an ongoing situation. Nothing is done as of this time. First of all, I do want to show you Scotty Marr's channel. So you can find him on Rumble, Scotty Marr 10. He's got 66,000 followers. Rumble is kind of weird. You can have your user account also visible in search. I've got mine hidden because I want people to subscribe to the channel, and then I use my user account to like comment on things, and it doesn't split the audience. Then sometimes people will see one and then not the other. So wanted to share this with you. Again, Scotty will be truly missed. It is truly a tragedy. Putting him out there on all of the platforms right now. Let me do a quick refresh on X. I thought that he was on X, but can't find him on X. There's somebody else with his username, and it's definitely not him. So here, I'll go ahead and throw this over on YouTube finally. All right, but now it looks like 22 hours ago, he or somebody else had posted this final video, and it is a video that features The Doors, The End. I don't know if Scotty made this himself or if his wife posted it after he passed away. I don't know if he was preparing to pass away, but I mean, generally speaking, heart attacks are pretty unexpected. So kind of I mean, if he posted this not knowing that he was going to pass away, or if it wasn't his wife that did it, it's kind of strange, kind of scary, actually, a little ironic, but obviously very fitting. So Monty says that he is on Telegram. So you can also find him on Telegram, I guess. All right. So I also want to show you guys in the lower left-hand corner of the screen there, we've got the official Don Lemon Prison Watch graphic, and it's waiting there for the moment that Don Lemon is arrested. Scotty left X back when it was Twitter. Okay, all right. So maybe that's why I thought he was there and I just hadn't seen his account for some time. But all right. Anyways, okay, CyberXSpeed says his X account is Alan MA150868771. Okay. All right, you guys. So today is another auspicious day. This is the day that the United States of America officially withdraws from the World Health Organization. Now, this was one of the first things that President Trump did when he came into office 1 year ago, and a lot of people have been waiting to ensure that this was actually going to happen. Now, we fund somewhere close to 20% of the World Health Organization every year as a result of our pullout. They're going to lose about a quarter of its employees in the next several months. We do have to pay them $260 million in outstanding fees before, I guess, they will allow us to leave. But we are no longer part of that global organization. And of course, that is a major win for the United States of America. Now, there were so many people who were very concerned about that treaty. That treaty is null and void. It has been for some time. The World Health Organization is not going to be coming into the United States of America and taking control of our public health policy or anything like that. Yes, Red Pill 78 wife, wish my husband a happy 8-year sober anniversary. Yes, today is the 8th full year of me being sober from drugs and alcohol. And if it wasn't for me actually getting sober, I never would have been able to start doing this show, and I never would have been able to show up and try to help in whatever way I can, whatever small way I can to try to educate people, wake them up, and also, of course, most of all, support the mission of President Trump and the Patriots. We are trying to save America. We are trying to deliver the entire world out of the clutches of a globalist cabal of criminals, a new world order that is run by terrible, terrible people. So here we are 8 years later, and I absolutely love doing this show, love being here with you guys, really appreciate you. Thank you to Dixie for the can. Thank you to Sean Joe for the can as well. Really appreciate you guys. All right, now, continuing on from the World Health Organization, saw this come across the wires yesterday, and I thought that this was pretty awesome. You know, Barron Trump seems to have a rather reserved personality. He's not somebody who's out there in front of the cameras. He's not looking for accolades online. He's not posting quippy things on the internet. I mean, you know, Don and Eric, they do plenty good with that. And obviously, President Trump does a hell of a job with it as well. But Barron is currently working on getting through college. He's trying to start his own life and make his mark in the world. And I would say with this story, he definitely did. So apparently he was on the phone with a friend of his, and this woman was in London. And while they were on the phone together during a FaceTime call, she began to be assaulted. So this incident was described during proceedings at the Snaresbrook Crown Court. During this court proceeding, jurors heard that Barron received a late-night FaceTime call from this woman who was his friend in the early hours of January 18th last year. So during the call, he witnessed her ex-boyfriend, a man by the name of Matvey Rumenastev, attacking her inside of his East London apartment. The prosecutors claim that the ex-boyfriend, he's 22 years old, became violently jealous of that woman's relationship, her friendship with Barron Trump. So after witnessing his friend getting beat on FaceTime, Barron figured out how to get a hold of the police in London. He got a hold of essentially their version of 911. It was about 2:23 in the morning, and police get a call from an American number warning that this woman is being beaten, and he provides them with the address. So they show up, they've got their body-worn cameras on, and they play this for the jury, and it shows the officers arriving at the scene and questioning this woman who's clearly in distress. And at first, the officers had no idea this was Barron Trump. He didn't call them and say, hey, I am the son of Donald Trump, the president of the United States. He just, hey, you need to go help this woman. So now later, she clarified to them, and she said, I am friends with Barron Trump, the son of Donald Trump, and that is who called you. So Barron Trump literally saved this woman's life. She credits him with saving her life, and it sounds like the prosecutors credited him as well. Later on, an officer was heard exclaiming to a colleague that this caller was likely Barron Trump, and it was obviously 2 days before President Trump was reinaugurated. Barron told officers he initially expected just a friendly conversation, but instead he saw the ceiling, he heard her screaming, and he briefly saw his friend being struck before the boyfriend allegedly ended the call. He said it was maybe 10 or 15 seconds. So he explained that contacting the police was the best course of action he could take, and he had to intervene directly. Well, that probably would have made it worse. But while this woman was giving evidence, testifying, she told jurors that she felt like a sign from God. That call to Barron Trump was a sign from God, and that he helped save her life. So I'm not even certain whether or not she intended to call Barron Trump, or if it's just that in the course of her ex-boyfriend being jealous about Barron Trump and them arguing and then him starting to beat her, if her phone inadvertently dialed him. That is still kind of a hazy part of this story here. But from the ways she describes it as an act of God, it sounds to me like it really, truly was. I mean, the whole thing was about Barron. The phone FaceTimes Barron. Barron is the one who saves her life, and I think that it's absolutely incredible. So she had been in a relationship with this man for around 6 months, and she alleged that he would assault and strangle her during this incident, and then she also accused him of 2 instances of rape. Now, this guy denies all the charges, of course, not just the assault, but the rape as well. He also denies that he strangled her, and he is, of course, trying to get off. So I can't wait to see what Barron has in store for the world. Can't wait to see what kind of a man he becomes, because I think that between Donald and Melania, he's got 2 incredibly well-rounded and worldly teachers to lead him into adulthood. And I got a lot of respect for him, even though he's barely said a word. That part is so funny. And you can see both Melania and Donald in him. I guess that Elon must be super tall, because Barron is obviously very tall. I guess I didn't realize how tall Elon was. Either way, so a couple of thank yous from the folks over here on Rumble. Well, thank you very much, guys, for the generosity. Warrior Mima says, happy 8-year anniversary, Zach. We are so proud of you and love you very much. I love you too, Warrior. Thank you so much. 76 Patriot Girl says, congrats on your sober anniversary. Huge accomplishment. I know, I'm almost 2 years. Congrats. You know, I don't know where you're at with it. I don't know how easy it is for you, but I will tell you, the further you get away from drugs and alcohol, the easier it becomes, the better your life becomes, the less you ever want to go back to living that way ever again. You know, I mean, there are some people who struggle with sobriety for years after it. And there are some people who will continually relapse. And I am super blessed that God has given me the strength to never, ever want to go back. So thank you very much for that, Patriot Girl. Thank you also to S2G109. Congratulations on your 8 years sober. May you have a lifetime of anniversaries to come. Thank you very much, my friend. Really appreciate that. And then Foxman17, $100 rant, my friend. That is so generous. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Red Pill, on 8 years. I really do appreciate that. Yes, Dom Dem says, congratulations, Zach. Not a lot of people can do what you did. And I couldn't for many years. I tried and I tried and I tried. And I was never able to do it. And I've told this story before, but I might as well just like tell it one more time. So on the night that I decided that I couldn't go on anymore, it was the 21st. And it was very early in the morning. And I still wasn't asleep from the 20th. And I was out on my back porch, and I was having a cigarette, and I was watching the sun come up, and I was drinking a beer, and it was probably like 6 in the morning, and I just kind of broke down, and I looked at myself, and I evaluated my life, and I said, you know, I can't live like this anymore, and I said, I don't know what to do. I've tried everything, and then it just occurred to me, the thought just came into my head. You've never asked God for help. And I literally got down on my knees And I prayed, and I hadn't prayed in years, like not like that, like not like truly reaching out and asking for the Spirit of Christ to help me, to come into me, and to give me the strength that I knew that I did not possess on my own. And I said, God, please. I said, I can't do this on my own. I need your help. And I'm sorry that I haven't asked for it before, but I'm asking now, and I will do whatever you need me to do. I said, I don't care how it happens. I just need you to walk with me. Otherwise, I'm never going to be able to do this. And it was later that night, about 11:30 at night, that I got arrested for the first time. And I could have been in a lot of trouble. And I should have been in a lot of trouble. But that was the last day that I used. And so I spent the next day or two, I think, in jail. And so, obviously I wasn't using in jail. And then I got out, and I was like, I asked for help, and God gave me literally the only thing that could have gotten me to stop using, because I was confronted with the reality of the decisions I was making. And I made that decision as soon as I was arrested. I said, this is exactly what I asked God to do. I asked him to intervene, and he intervened in the most serious and intense way that he possibly could. And so the 22nd was the first full 24 hours that I had in sobriety. And the 21st was the day that I asked for help. So ever since that time, I have remained clean and sober. I put myself in rehab. I went to a program, ended up getting out, didn't go to prison. So that was awesome. And here we are today. So thank you so much for being here with us, you guys. I really do appreciate it. All right. Now, getting back into the news. As if Marco Rubio doesn't have enough to do already, President Trump has just given him yet another job. I can't believe it. This guy is wearing so many hats, and I wonder if when you go to his office or you look on the wall in his office, if he's got a series of plaques that list Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. Now he's going to be running the World Expo in 2035, I guess. Real quick, Frodo Baggins, thank you so much for that tip on the Rumble wall. It looks like $25 coming in. Appreciate you, homie. Sober in Stilettos says, really grateful you got sober, Zach. We have a close sober date, and although it isn't easy, it's so much better. Such a massive accomplishment. I can't wait to get a mocktail at Gart. Can't wait to see you there. Also, thank you to Lee Walden. Have you seen Barron in his soccer workout and game? I have not seen Barron in the soccer workout. And then Little Sister Brown says, congratulations on 8 years of sobriety. Thank you so much, my friend. Mickey says, God bless you. Much love and peace to you and Lisa. Appreciate you. Lizzie B, thank you for the cookie. Sean Joe, thank you for the cookie. Moon Baby says, I'm here for the news. Thanks, Zach. Thank you very much. And then also Sean Joe, thank you for the cookie as well. All right, so President Trump posted on Truth Social earlier today. Today, I am announcing the United States' intention to bid for the World Expo in 2035. The great state of Florida has expressed strong interest in hosting the expo in Miami, which I fully support. Miami Expo 2035 can be the next big milestone in our new golden age of America. I am appointing Miami native Secretary of State Marco Rubio to chair the efforts of coordinating and advancing this exciting opportunity to convene the world. We will create thousands of jobs and add billions of dollars in growth to our economy. In my first term as president, I fought hard to bring the 2026 FIFA World Cup and the 2028 LA Summer Olympics to the USA. I now have the honor of hosting as the 47th president, plus America 250, G20 Doral, and the G7. I look forward to winning and participating in the Miami Expo 2035. And I think Marco's going to do a fine job bringing it home. Lisa and I were laying in bed last night, and she was like, Marco is such a G. I've said it so many times. This dude has so surprised me in this administration. We were both super nervous. I was like, Marco Rubio? God, I don't know that I trust this guy. Why is President Trump choosing him? But again, I got to defer to the boss. I think he knows what he's doing. And Marco has been a tremendous asset to the administration and just a continual series of surprises. So go, Marco, go. All right, now, Considering that we just held Bill and Hillary Clinton in criminal contempt for ignoring the subpoenas that were issued from a bipartisan oversight committee in the U.S. House of Representatives, we now get word from Oversight Chairman James Comer that Ghislaine Maxwell herself will be deposed by this same committee on February 9th in connection with their investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. I am certain that they wanted Bill and Hillary Clinton to come in before Ghislaine Maxwell, but it remains to be seen whether or not they're going to be able to successfully get that to happen. Now, also waiting on any type of news as to how we proceed from this point forward. Is the DOJ going to go to Pkwy, New York, and head on down to Hillary Clinton's private email server bathroom and see if she's down there taking a dump and maybe throw the handcuffs on her? Not exactly certain, but facing contempt of, that's actually James Comer's announcement about the Clintons. So she is going to be coming in and testifying. Undoubtedly, she's going to be asked questions about her relationship with Bill and Hillary Clinton and Bill and Hillary Clinton's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. She is already serving a 20-year federal sentence, and she has also exhausted all of her appeals. So there's no reason for her to not just be totally honest about everything that she says. I would not be surprised if they also gave her some type of immunity just to ensure that she doesn't incriminate herself for anything else that she was not charged with. If that happens, then she has the freedom to speak. If not, then she would have to invoke the Fifth Amendment on certain questions. So we'll see exactly how it's going to pan out. I think that Maxwell, obviously more than Bill and Hillary Clinton, is going to have tons to say about the Epstein network and the people who were directly involved with Epstein and her while they were running their global child trafficking operation. So let me see. We do have, that was Bill and Hillary Clinton's former letter. We don't need to read that. All right. Lee Walden says, Zach, my friend, I was in that place for years, and I'm so stupid I would continue to abuse, but in the end, he has given me another chance. Love you, young man. Stay the course. We all admire your work. I appreciate you. Stay strong, Lee, because it is so much better, so much easier to just get up in the morning and do what you need to do to live when you can do it all sober. And, that goes for me. All right. And anybody else who's struggling to not drink or use. There are plenty of people out there who drink and their lives are not a shambles. So if that's you, good for you. You are very lucky. But definitely, if you are somebody who is struggling, I've talked to a lot of people in the audience over the years, and undoubtedly, if they reached out to me and they were struggling and they were able to find the strength to move forward and get sober, their lives have become immeasurably better. All right, now, people had asked me about this woman in the chat yesterday, and there was an update to the story last night, but now it's also being written about by the Gateway Pundit. So this is that Ohio nurse who had said some really disgusting things about Caroline Leavitt and what she hopes Caroline endures during the birth of her new child. Now, Caroline is not a first-time mother. This is her second round at childbirth, so she's already gone through the process, okay? I mean, she knows the ins and outs. She knows what to expect. But of course, every childbirth is different. And you would imagine that another woman who is also a healthcare professional would not want to wish ill will on a woman who is perhaps facing a difficult pregnancy. It could be easy, it could be difficult. We don't even know. But in this video, she essentially wishes for horrific suffering and physical damage to Caroline Leavitt. She stops short of wishing ill will on the baby. But in this video, she essentially graphically wishes that Caroline Leavitt face the most painful experiences that a woman can endure during childbirth, resulting in traumatic injuries. So I am going to play the video. And I wasn't going to do this initially, but you know what? I mean, I think a lot of people have seen it, and I have to be honest with you. This woman, Chandra Petri Zaruk, who is the vice president of Home First Choice in Ohio, I think that everyone deserves to see the kind of woman that this person is. She is a leftist, of course. She is a Democrat, and she hates Caroline Leavitt because she works for President Trump. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, I should just go ahead and get ahead of the story here and tell you guys the update is that Chandra no longer is the vice president at Home First Choice Ohio. She has separated from that company. It's either that she left some months ago or she left as a result of this exposure she's receiving. But I do just want to say, I am continually amazed at the terrible things that people on the left will say out loud on the internet, thinking that they have some moral high ground, wishing death, destruction, maiming, injury on people simply because they don't agree with them politically. I don't wish that anybody that is like my intellectual foil. I don't wish any of those people physical harm. Not at all. It would never occur to me to go online and say something crazy like, well, I hope that this person gets their arms ripped off, or I hope that they have their private parts ripped stem to stern, as Chandra did. It's just disgusting, and I don't understand it.
My wish for Caroline Leavitt. She is pregnant with a baby girl, and I truly do hope that baby is so healthy. I hope she's healthy and headstrong. So headstrong, in fact, that as she is emerging into this world through Caroline's geriatric dick garage, that she tears her from
geriatric dick garage. That's creative, if nothing else.
Bow to fucking stern. Grade 4 tear. So big that when she gets out of the shower naked and walks across the room, she accidentally picks up dog toys. Yeah. That's my wish for you, Caroline.
This woman is obviously disturbed. I get somebody in the chat said, you do understand it. MK Ultra is powerful. You're right. You're right. But it's still shocking to me every single time I hear it. I know that there is mental illness at play. There is a level of brainwashing and programming. These people have been taught to view us as dehumanized. As crazy as I think leftists are, even when I see a blue-haired dude wearing a dress or buying a bra in the women's section at Target, I still see them as a human being. So, I don't know, man. So, there is something called the Nightingale Pledge that nurses take. It's part of their ethics and principles. It's, it's along the lines of not doing harm that doctors have. So they have to avoid harmful practices and zealously care for the ill. This is actually how it goes. Before God and those assembled here, I solemnly pledge to adhere to the code of ethics of the nursing profession, to cooperate faithfully with the other members of the nursing team, and do carry out faithfully and to the best of my ability the instructions of the physician or the nurse who may be assigned to supervise my work. I will not do anything evil or malicious, and I will not knowingly give any harmful drug or assist in malpractice. I will not reveal any confidential information that may come to my knowledge in the course of my work. And I pledge myself to do all in my power to raise the standards and prestige of the practical nursing. May my life be devoted to service and to the high ideals of the nursing profession. So I don't know if this woman has had her nursing license revoked. A lot of people are calling for it to be revoked. But from what I understand, she doesn't actually work there anymore. And let's just go to Libs of TikTok, because this is where I first saw it. And I think that it was Libs of TikTok that had posted that this woman was no longer working there. Oh, gosh, we have another one, a labor and delivery nurse at Baptist Health Boca Raton Regional Hospital. She said she hopes Caroline Leavitt suffers a severe 4th-degree tear. Wow. Again, we've got more. I wonder if maybe there was a note or an email that went out to tell people that this is what they should do. Okay, let's continue looking for that tweet that I saw yesterday. All right. Well, I don't know. I don't know where it is. It's definitely in my bookmarks somewhere. But so many crazy leftists out there in the world right now, just completely divorced from reality, unhinged from life on Earth. It is insane to me. All right, so we'll jump back into that at another point if somebody gives me a tweet on it. Frey and the Boy says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Congratulations, Zach, on 8 years. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. All right. Now, also, thank you very much to Filter Dog. My theory is President Trump is grooming Marco for higher office. I think undoubtedly Marco is in that position because he certainly has aspirations for higher office. But I would imagine that Marco would probably end up being JD's vice president. And then after JD is gone, then Marco would become president. That's usually the line of succession. There are people out there that are trying to like pit JD and Marco against each other. But yeah, I think that there's no doubt that that's exactly what's going on. Good Dog 45, thank you for the can. 808Y Digital says, or is that Bobby Digital? Congratulations to all that you overcame your struggles. Cheers and God bless. God bless you as well. Filter Dog, thank you for 2 cookies. Bobby, thank you again for another cookie. Thank you. Filter Dog, thank you. Darla, rest in peace, Scotty Martin of Scotty Films. What a great patriot. You will be remembered as one. Absolutely, he certainly will. It is so tragic. Hogleg71, thank you for the can and the cookie. And Sean Joe, thank you for the cookie as well. Bowler Jack Bryan says, congratulations on 8 years. Many more to come. Thank you so much, sir. Yes, many, many more to come. Now, Jack Smith testified today in Congress, and it did not go well. This was before the House Judiciary. Jim Jordan, of course, is the chairman of that. Smith testified due to his efforts to subvert the American Republic by going after President Trump, also spying on members of Congress. Of course, this was blatant interference in the 2024 election. One of the most notable and absurd and easily debunkable allegations that came out of that investigation was the so-called star witness. I think she was a plant, Cassidy Hutchinson. She claimed that President Trump, in the Beast, the giant SUV limo that they drive, grabbed the steering wheel from the Secret Service agent and commander inside that presidential limo on January 6th. And then the driver of the motorcade actually came forward and refuted Cassidy Hutchinson's statement. She made those statements under oath. Jim Jordan asked Jack Smith about his consideration of putting Cassidy Hutchinson on the stand, despite the fact that he knew she was a liar. He had to admit during the course of this hearing that he was unable to confirm anything that was stated by Cassidy Hutchinson. And the other thing, knowing that he could not ascertain the veracity of anything she said, he couldn't prove her comments, he never ruled her out as using her as a witness. In fact, it's my assertion that he was going to use her as a witness. So let's go ahead and take a look at this clip of Jim Jordan having these. Well, I need to see how long this version of the clip is, because I don't want to watch the entirety of the exchange. But if it's what I think it is, it will be perfect.
Mr. Smith.
Okay, it is 5 minutes. Yeah, I think that I've got a better version of it in here. Okay, so, all right, so here is Harriet Hagman questioning Jack Smith about it. Now, again, Jack Smith is a lawyer, okay? For all intents and purposes, he should have been a good lawyer for the job that he was chosen for. Previously working in The Hague, there's been some rumors of Jack Smith being involved in bribery and such when he was working in The Hague. But Jack Smith, knowing that Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony would have been hearsay, would have meant that it would have been inadmissible in court. And Harriet Hagman calls him out directly.
Committee provide you with the Cassidy Hutchinson testimony as part of the trove of documents that you received?
As I sit here now, I don't recall, but it would.
Well, you're familiar with her testimony, aren't you?
I am.
And in fact, wouldn't you agree with me that Ms. Hutchinson's testimony, especially the most explosive allegations made, was comprised of hearsay upon hearsay upon hearsay?
First of all, every single moment that Jack Smith is sitting up there, he's got this look on his face. That look says, I'm screwed. Like, my guy didn't win. I was unsuccessful. I really didn't just bend the rules. I broke the ruler. And he knows he's absolutely effed.
Come on, you're an attorney. Mr. Smith, you can answer the question. Of course it was hearsay. And hearsay isn't admissible in a court of law, is it? Why? Because it is inherently unreliable, and the victim or the target of a prosecution is not able to cross-examine. Isn't that correct? In fact, Mr. Smith, if you had attempted to walk into court with Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony, you would have been thrown out on your ear. No judge, no legitimate judge would have ever allowed the testimony of Cassidy Hutchins to be admitted in a court of law, would they?
I disagree.
Well, and then we've already talked about your record.
Mr. Chairman, the gentlelady's time has long since expired.
The time of the
Ooh. Thank you also to Pkwy, who says, happy soberversary. God always answers our prayers. Yes, he does. I recommend everybody reach out to God if you've got something you need. And even if you don't, you should be doing it on a regular basis. Sandosan says, proud of you, Zach. You are a blessing. Thank you so much. Now, also, of course, during Jack Smith's testimony, President Trump was watching, and he posted this in the midst of that testimony. He's called Jack Smith a couple of key things over the years, but Jack Smith, deranged Jack Smith, is being decimated before Congress. Literally every interaction that he had, he was just getting body blows. It was over when they discussed his past failures and unfair prosecutions. He destroyed many lives under the guise of legitimacy. Jack Smith is a deranged animal who should not be allowed to practice law. If he were a Republican, his license would be taken away from him, and worse. Hopefully, the Attorney General is looking at what he's done, including some of the crooked and corrupt witnesses that he was attempting to use in his case against me. The whole thing was a Democrat scam. A big price should be paid by them for what they have put our country through. Now, of course, many of those witnesses were being paid for. Hold on, this is totally in the wrong spot. Okay, we'll put that right there. Many of the witnesses that Jack Smith had on deck were being paid to be there. Now, this is part of that questioning that Jim Jordan gave to him. Roughly $35 million was spent on the investigation to try to impede President Trump from coming back into office. We know of at least $20,000 that went to confidential sources to get them to give information against President Trump. And yes, they would have been required to testify. Now, Jack Smith can't answer if anything more than that $20,000 that has been discovered, sussed out, was paid to other people.
We've gathered at $35 million. And what I want to know is how much of that $35 million of taxpayer money did you give to confidential human sources? We know you gave $20,000 to someone. It just got reported last week. How much more money did you pay confidential people we don't know about, with American tax money going after the guy we elected president?
Yes, and somebody mentioned in the chat, Sedition Hunters was also paid by the federal government. The website, Sedition Hunters, was used to track and identify people who were present in Washington, D.C. on January 6th. And then the information collected by Sedition Hunters was then used by Joe Biden's government to go after these people and destroy them, to try to bring as many cases as possible. Don't know how much they were paid. Don't know how many other people were paid for the information that they were bringing.
My recollection regards the $20,000, which was not a payment from me. It was me approving a payment by the FBI to a confidential human source who was reviewing video and photographic.
Who's the source?
I do not know the identity of the source.
How many other payments went to this source or other sources?
As I sit here, I do not know the answer to that question. My role as special counsel,
$35 million, and you're giving money to people the country doesn't know who they are, and you're giving their hard-earned money to these folks? The main question I have too with this is why'd you have to do it? You subpoenaed bank records from the RNC, phone records from members of Congress. You got subpoenas for bank records for people sitting right there on the front row. Why did you have to pay people for information when you could subpoena them and get it?
Time has expired.
Time has expired. You can answer the question, though. Country'd like to know why you had to do it.
My recollection and understanding is the payment, the $20,000 that I approved, was for a confidential human source to assist in the review of video and photographic evidence showing people who were attacking the Capitol, attacking police officers, obstructing the proceeding, and seeing if we could prove that some of those people had come directly.
That wasn't my question, but my time has expired. The gentleman.
Oh, man. Now, probably the biggest revelation to come out was the revelation of Jack Smith never having taken an oath of office. However, he was acting in a capacity as a special counsel, despite never having been given that oath of office. And once it was kind of realized by people in the DOJ, there was an oath of office that was taken, but it was already after Jack Smith had been operating in this capacity, which, of course, he was already found to be delegitimized as a special counsel. He was not improper. He was improperly placed in that position. But more than that, he was acting illegally prior to that. Now, Julie Kelly says, again, I want you to pay special attention to Jack Smith's body language. I mean, it looks to me like he knows he's lying. Throughout the entirety of his testimony, it appeared to me that Jack Smith was not only carefully parsing his words to try not to put himself in a position to be found to be committing perjury, but also, of course, to not answer much of anything at all and stay within some very specific guidelines. Now, here, take a listen to this. Before Jack Smith had actually taken the oath of office, he had already brought 3 criminal indictments, and that oath of office was not actually administered until September of 2023.
Mr. Smith, on November 18th, 2022, A.G. Garland appointed you as special counsel. Can you tell me about your swearing in or the oath of office after that?
I don't recall the specifics of it. I know I was sworn in. I don't recall the specifics of how that was done.
You don't remember who swore you in?
I don't.
Would you agree that taking the oath of office is a legal requirement for the job that you had?
I've taken oaths of office regularly. I haven't researched whether it's required or not, but I've done that, I think, in every government case.
It is required. Terms I heard earlier today were atypical, irregular, no proper procedure. Yet in your opening statement, you said that we followed Justice Department policies, and I would assume you meant the law as well. It strikes me as odd that you don't remember who swore you in, how you were sworn in. It's pretty significant. We all get sworn in here, and I remember every day. You don't remember who swore you in.
I don't remember the details of it as I sit here today.
But you did take the oath of office before you got rolling.
I think my recollection is it was when I was appointed.
It was when.
Now, let's just place yourself in that scenario. You're Jack Smith. You're working in The Hague. You're living in Europe. You reach out to some friends at the Department of Justice and you say, hey, you know what? I would love to be the special counsel that comes in and takes down President Trump. And then you get into a bike accident, you break your leg, and despite the fact that you're on strict bed rest, they send you the call, you end up flying back to the United States, you're on crutches, you go in, assumedly to the office of the Attorney General, and you get the biggest job of your career. You are now the guy who has just been appointed to take down Donald J. Trump. This is a career-making move in a long line of other career-making moves that you've had. Definitely the biggest move that you've ever made. And you don't remember? You don't remember what happened on that day? I'm not buying it. I don't believe it for a second.
It strikes me as odd that Attorney General Garland had you retake the oath of office on the 14th of September of the following year. Why did he make you do that?
As I sit here right now, I do not recall. I know that there is the oath of office that I signed. I believe it was on the 18th, the day that I was appointed. And I know the department had me do a second one. I don't know the particulars of why they asked me to do it again, but I know
you signed it on.
So let's just think about it. You've already been the special counsel for some time. You've already signed a ton of documents. You've already begun investigations into the number one opponent of your ultimate boss. You've already brought 3 indictments against a series of individuals that you're hoping to put in prison for the rest of their lives. And they call you up and they say, Jack, we've got a problem. We're going to need you to take another oath of office. Well, wouldn't you? I'm not even a lawyer. I don't work in the government. If it was me, I would say, I already took the oath of office. Why would it be necessary for me to take another oath of office? You would ask that question. You would be curious. But here's the thing. These people quite often seem to have an incredible lack of curiosity, it seems. That lack of curiosity is always their rationale for why bad people get away with doing bad things, or why they didn't catch them the first time, or why they didn't notice that things weren't quite right. Well, you know, I don't know. I didn't even think about it. My email is redpill78@protonmail.com.
The 20th of November 22nd, November 2022, but there was no witness, which, I mean, you have to agree it's a little odd. If there's no witness saying that you took the oath of office, it would maybe make someone like me question whether or not you were legitimately doing the job until you finally took the oath of office. It sounds like the Attorney General had the same question and thought, oh shit, we got to have him sign this on the 14th day of September of the following year. So why did you take the oath of office again on the 14th of September of the following year when you say you took the office in November of 2022? Why'd you need to do it twice?
My recollection is that I took the oath of office as...
You'll notice also that he keeps saying my recollection because recollections can, of course, change. Oh, you know what? I misremembered. I must have recollected that incorrectly.
You said it was the 18th or the 20th and felt I was under the oath of office. I believe, if you have it in front of you, I think I signed an oath.
You signed it, but there was no witness. There was supposed to be either notarized or a witness, and apparently Attorney General Garland thought it was significant enough to have you do another oath 11 months later. That's strange, right?
I don't know why they asked me to sign it again. I don't recall ever discussing this issue with Attorney General Garland.
Well, that is just wild to me. I'd like to yield the balance of my time to Mr. Jordan.
Well, which one was the official one? Which one counted? I think that's what the gentleman's asking.
I understood myself to have taken the oath of office when I assumed the job.
How much money did you... Okay.
So, of course, the second one is the one that counts. You don't need to do something a second time unless you didn't do it correctly the first time. And if there was no witness, if there was no notarization to the original oath of office, then there is nothing that that would be on paper. All right. Now, Brandon Gill also had a pretty awesome interaction with him. Again, I like Brandon Gill doing these hearings. He always asks the right questions. So in his conversation with Jack Smith, he caught him in multiple lies. and exposed the knowledge that he had that he was illegally spying on members of Congress during the course of that Arctic Frost investigation. And if you don't remember, during Arctic Frost, the FBI and Jack Smith spied on 8 Republican senators and 4 members of the Republican House of Representatives during Arctic Frost's investigation into the events surrounding January 6th. Just days after Speaker of the House at that time, Kevin McCarthy, took over, Jack Smith secretly subpoenaed McCarthy under a non-disclosure order and claimed that the sitting House of Representatives Speaker was a flight risk, as if Kevin McCarthy was going to leave the United States and never come back. He also just got the biggest job of his career. And of course, he was a fabulous disappointment. Now, Gill brought receipts. He proved that even though Jack Smith testified to the contrary, Smith clearly used false information to secure that non-disclosure order so that he could secretly spy on Kevin McCarthy and others as well. The order from the judge reads as such: the court finds reasonable grounds to believe that such disclosure will result in flight from prosecution, destruction of or tampering with evidence, intimidation of potential witnesses, and serious jeopardy to the investigation, which seems to indicate a direct reference to the target of that investigation, which, of course, would have been Kevin McCarthy at that time. So Brandon Gill continued and tells Jack Smith that he must have known about his targeting of Congress members violating the Congressional Speech or Debate Clause, which is something that provides immunity for legislators during legislative activities. Smith tried to claim that there was no potential for a violation, but an email from the DOJ's own public integrity section, which we've gone over on the show before, which was sent to Jack Smith, informed him that the secret collection of lawmakers' phone information presented a litigation risk due to the fact that it was a violation of the law. Now, Gill also revealed that the memo stated, given my understandings of the low likelihood that any of the members listed below would be charged, the litigation risk should be minimal here. So in other words, you're using a novel legal theory, Gill said, which you know is novel, has never been tested in court, and you're not charging any of those members. Nobody is going to know about it because you issued non-disclosure orders. Nobody is going to sue you if nobody knows they're being spied upon. Let's take a listen here.
Protecting our lives on January 6th.
The gentleman from Texas, Mr. Gill, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Smith, in January of 2023, did you subpoena then Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy's toll records?
What I also want to say about Brandon Gill, what I love about him, is that every time he asks a question, he already knows the answer. He's got like copious notes, background information, and there's no way that anybody can get out of the questions he asks. This man is exacting. He's so good.
Yes, sir, we did.
Yes, you did. And the subpoena covered the time period between November 2020 and January 2021. Is that right?
I'm sorry, sir. Could you say that again?
We're not going to delay like this. The subpoena covered the time period between November of 2020 and January 2021. How many days after Kevin McCarthy was sworn in as Speaker did you subpoena his records?
I don't recall, but those two things had nothing to do with one.
It was 16 days after becoming the highest-ranking Republican in the House of Representatives. You subpoenaed his toll records. Do you agree that that might reasonably be considered a violation of the Speech or Debate Clause?
I do not, and I want to be clear that the toll
You
records...
were collecting months' worth of phone data on the Republican Speaker of the House, the leader of the opposition, right after he got sworn in as Speaker, all around the time of a major vote. That sounds like a flagrant violation of the Speech or Debate Clause to me, and I think most people agree with me. And Speaker McCarthy had no recourse, did he? Because you issued a non-disclosure order ensuring that neither he nor any of the American people knew about these subpoenas. Is that right?
The toll record, the non-content toll record subpoenas, we did secure non-disclosure orders for those subpoenas.
You did, and let me ask you, Mr. Smith, at the time you secured those non-disclosure orders, was Speaker McCarthy a flight risk?
The non-disclosure order was based on concerns about...
Was Speaker McCarthy a flight risk?
He was not.
He was not. Then why did your non-disclosure order refer to him as a flight risk? It says right here, the court finds reasonable grounds to believe that such disclosure will result in flight from prosecution.
Sir, when securing a non-disclosure order, the risks don't have to be
You
associated.
think that the Speaker of the House is a flight risk?
the question?
No, this is not your time. This is my time.
Sit down and
You
shut
think,
up.
you think the Speaker of the House is a flight risk? You think he's going to hop on a plane and leave the country?
No, what I was trying to explain is with respect to a non-disclosure order, the risks aren't necessarily associated with the subscriber to the phone. They're the risks to the investigation.
I think that you were using, this was clearly in reference to Speaker McCarthy, and you were using clearly false information to secure a non-disclosure order to hide from Speaker McCarthy and from the American people the fact that you were spying on his toll records. But I've got more, so let's move on.
Now, if I remember correctly, the judge actually wasn't even aware that these were members of Congress either. It was just a presentation of a target. Jack Smith lays out the rationale for why they need the information, why they need the non-disclosure order, and the judge essentially rubber stamps it. I wonder if his rubber stamping would have had, a slightly different spin if he would have been aware of exactly who it was he was giving Jack Smith the right to spy on. And then never tell them about it.
In May of 2023, you also issued subpoenas for toll records of 9 U.S. senators and an additional representative. Is that right?
In May of 23, we did issue.
You did, and there were non-disclosure orders in conjunction with those subpoenas as well, right?
That's correct, consistent with department policy and
Right.
the law.
So again, nobody would know what you were doing. The senators would, and the representatives would, and the American people wouldn't know what you were doing. Is that right?
The toll records that we secured and the non-disclosure orders were consistent with policy and consistent.
And you knew whenever you were doing that there was a risk you were violating the speech or debate clause. Is that right?
The toll record subpoenas that we secured were with the concurrence of the public integrity.
Your own analysis says that you knew there was a risk you were violating the speech or debate clause. I have it right here. This is an email from John Keller at Public Integrity Section to your team. As you are aware, quote, as you are aware, there is some litigation risk regarding whether compelled disclosure of toll records of a member's legislative calls violates the speech or debate clause in the D.C. Circuit. That's from your own analysis right there. So you did know, didn't you?
Sir, with respect to the item you just put up on the screen, the last sentence states.
Oh, we're going to get to the last sentence.
Okay.
We're going to get to the last sentence. And you cite case law in here, quote, the bar on compelled disclosure is absolute. Is that right? Or do you think that you didn't have to abide by that precedent?
To be clear, this statement is not from my office. This is the statement of the public integrity
This is your
section.
justification for those subpoenas and NDOs that you ordered. This was part of your analysis. It's a cursory analysis. I think it's worth noting. Well, let's get to that last sentence then. Quote, given my understanding of the low likelihood that any of the members listed below would be charged, the litigation risk should be minimal here. In other words, you're using a novel legal theory, which you knew was novel, has never been tested by any court. You're not charging any of these members. Nobody's going to know about it because you issued NDOs. Nobody's going to sue this, so who cares? We're going to do it anyways. I mean, you walked all over the Constitution throughout this entire process.
Mr. Chairman, the gentleman's time has
spying
expired.
on members of Congress, and you know it. It's absolutely disgraceful.
Oh, man. I love it. All right, real quick before we continue, I have a very brief message from our friends over here on Rumble, and then we're going to get to the next portion of the show. All right, you guys, if you still have not yet tried 1775 coffee, you need to do it. This is your shot. Some of those starter kits are still available. In those starter kits, you're going to get their bold dark roast, you're going to get their smooth medium roast, and their Vitality mushroom coffee that gives you clean energy and laser focus with no crash. All of it made from single origin, small batch, toxin and mold-free beans, the best you can buy. Plus, you're also going to get that gold spoon clip, a very strong frother, and a black 1775 tumbler. All of it is $170 worth of coffee and gear, but it's only yours for $99. This is for all of the people who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble and wondering if it's actually worth it. It truly is. So go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab one of those starter kits before they're gone. Get yourself a bundle of bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does. And Lisa, if you can hear me, I need some more coffee, my love. I'll set my cup right there. All right. Jack Smith, I think, is in a lot of trouble. He is in a world of hurt. Now, another interaction that we have right here also deals with the speech and debate clause. Representative Moore speaking with Jack Smith, and this is Barry Moore. He's a Republican from Alabama. He said, "You issued an indictment against then President Biden's most formidable political opponent, and that candidate was President Trump. You issued a gag order for President Trump during the 2024 election cycle. This was a major violation of President Trump's First Amendment rights and a poor attempt to outright censor that leading political opponent." Jack Smith knew exactly what he was doing. Clearly, he was tasked with doing just this. Literally made it so that people didn't know they were being spied upon. If they did, if they knew they were under investigation, they couldn't talk about it. They did everything in their power to try to tip the scale and ensure that President Trump would not return to the Oval Office. And despite all of that, President Trump did, again, what nobody thought was possible in the deep state. And that is why Jack Smith is so nervous. Let me say thank you real quickly to Isle of White Privilege, Don L'Orange. That is all. I love it. Then Jim Kyle says, "Did you see Ivan Raiklen get into a discussion with someone at the Jack Smith hearing, causing the Capitol Police to intervene?" That was with Michael Fanone, the January 6th cop who just recently suggested that rioters should start shooting ICE agents. I didn't actually see the video, but I saw the headline as I was just starting the show. S2G109 says, "Zach, the position come with the grant of authority in the constitutions, their contracts with the people. Once they take the seat and pay, they are bound by oath as it's part of the Constitution." Yes. And that oath was not in place when when Jack Smith was doing the work. So all the things that he did up until that point, highly illegal. Jeremy Libby says, "Elon has boots with heels." I will take your word for it. I have never seen him wearing heels, but let's go ahead and check this out. Also, hit the like button if you haven't yet. Really does help out the show. Hit the thumbs up, hit the red pill.
Appointments clause. You also issued an indictment against then President Biden's most formidable political opponent. The candidate was President Trump, and you issued a gag order for President Trump during a 2024 election cycle. This was a major violation of President Trump's First Amendment rights and a poor attempt to outright censor the leading political candidate. These actions were nothing short of election interference. 9 senators, including Senator Tuberville from my state of Alabama, and multiple Republican members of the House of Representatives had their phones subpoenaed, or their records subpoenaed. Some you seize their phones. Even then, Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy, one of the highest-ranking Republicans in the country, had his phone records subpoenaed, all for political gain. These subpoenas clearly violated the speech and debate clause. As John Keller of the DOJ's Public Integrity section addressed this issue in an email dated May 17th of 2023, D.C. Circuit President stated that the speech and debate clause, and the bar is this, bar on compelled disclosure is absolute. These instances are not only the tip of the iceberg about you and your team's flagrant disregard of the Constitution. Mr. Smith, your actions have changed and damaged confidence in our justice system. Today, this committee will determine whether that damage was a result of reckless judgment, political bias, or deliberate misuse of authority. And with that, Mr. Chairman,
It will be deliberate misuse of authority. Now, Jack Smith also claimed that the proof he had to indict President Trump and go after him for trying to win an election was beyond a reasonable doubt. He had everything he needed to charge President Trump. He did nothing wrong. Of course he would.
I felt we had proof beyond a reasonable doubt. I felt that that proof included direct testimony from a number of witnesses to prove the knowing falsity of his claims.
Despite the fact that in your own deposition you acknowledge the existence of conflicting advice. If this defendant were anyone other than Donald J. Trump, Mr. Smith, I find it hard to believe that we would be sitting here today having a hearing about an indictment that was returned knowing that the elements of the offenses could not be demonstrated.
I felt we
the
had proof beyond a reasonable
of
doubt.
the supposed crime, the elements of the supposed crime that Jack Smith was attempting to charge President Trump with were not really a crime. None of it was a crime. Now, also, Chip Roy was one of those people who was spied upon by Jack Smith and his team. What was interesting to me about this one is that Jack Smith actually apologizes to Chip Roy. I'm not going to play this clip, but Chip says, "Let me ask you this. Am I on that list? Did you target my records and subpoena my phone toll records?" And Smith said, "My understanding is your records were subpoenaed by prosecutors before I became special counsel." And Chip says, "Well, we called AT&T and we learned that they were given to the Department of Justice, as this email indicates, because I've been in communication with Scott Perry. It's far more concerning to me that you are clearly targeting American citizens for merely being conservative or supporting the president." And he said, "I'm sorry." A federal judge has stated a prosecutor who continues to sign his name in court filings after a disqualification should face discipline and disbarment. Now, Jack Smith did that. It's funny because this is the same thing that they have accused Lindsay Halligan of doing. It's one of the ways that they were able to get her out. But at the end of the day, I'm not the only person who thought that Jack Smith lied while he was under oath. President Trump, again, was listening to the entire testimony. He also believes that Jack Smith committed perjury today. Now, on top of calling him deranged Jack Smith, President Trump also accused him of committing large-scale perjury. Based on his testimony today, there is no question that deranged Jack Smith should be prosecuted for his actions. He destroyed the lives of many innocent people, which has been his history as a prosecutor. At a minimum, he committed large-scale perjury. I think that that is exactly what Jack Smith did. The testimony he gave today was in conflict with testimony that he gave behind closed doors when he was also under oath. Now, I thought that this was really interesting. This is a post from Kash Patel. And he says, "People ask why I said the old FBI was a diseased temple." I love that he gave the a law-abiding citizen quote. "This is what corruption looks like when it thinks no one is watching." What you're seeing here is a trophy that was made by agents at the FBI. AF stands for Arctic Frost. And I think that this is a bullet that's kind of meant to look like the House of Representatives, the Capitol building. You've also got, an explicit version of the Capitol building here. You've got the United States with a couple of states that seem to be elevated. And then I believe that this would be the Supreme Court of the United States. It looks like maybe there's also the scales of justice in there. And it says CR-15. Now, this is a trophy that someone at the FBI 3D printed, and then they presented it to themselves to celebrate the fact that they initiated Operation Arctic Frost. Now, CR-15 was the group within the FBI that is where this all began. And Kash Patel disbanded that group within the FBI, and he removed all of the people that were involved. So he says, when the legacy media cries that President Trump's FBI fired people and made sweeping changes, I have one response: you're damn right I did. Well, Kash, don't stop there. You've got a lot more that you can do. Now, we're going to jump into Minnesota and the crime and criminality going on there. That is the number one topic for today. But this was one more clip from Davos that President Trump said during his address yesterday. And he directly addresses the idea of third world immigration. He says something that I've said on many occasions, and I love hearing it from President Trump. When you import third world peoples into your country, especially without any sort of plan to help integrate them, you are importing third world problems. It is a drastic mistake to import people from failed countries and then just give them some principality within your own nation and expect that they're going to do anything different from what they did in their home country. Minneapolis, we see that right now with Somalis.
But equally importantly, we're cracking down on more than $19 billion in fraud that was stolen by Somalian bandits. Can you believe that Somalia? They turned out to be higher IQ than we thought. I always say these are low IQ people. How did they go into Minnesota and steal all that money? And we have, we shoot them out of the water just like we shoot the drug boats out. They're not pirating too many boats lately, do you notice? When they go out into those boats, they want to take over $1.5 billion tanker loaded up with oil, and they say, we're going to blow up your boat. They have powerful weapons. You hit the side of the boat, you blow the whole thing up. The insurance companies are petrified, so they say, just give them the boat, we'll give them money instead. And I don't do that. We blow them right the hell out of the water. We see them going out, we blow them out of the water. We don't have any pirates so much anymore. If we do, they won't be there long. We've cut down with the hitting of the boats that are loaded up with drugs, including submarines. Can you believe they actually buy small, they call them mini subs, very fast. They're meant for drugs. We've knocked out 2 of them. The Democrats say they were fishing. You have ruined somebody's fishing weekend, I would say. A submarine is not a fishing boat. You don't fish. But we've knocked down drugs by water, the oceans, the sea, by 97.2%. Think of that. And I actually say, who the hell are the 3%? Because I would not want to be piloting one of those boats. We knocked them down, and now we're going to start on land. We're going to knock it all out. The land is the easy part. What we did on sea is incredible, and that's our great military. The situation in Minnesota reminds us that the West cannot mass import foreign cultures which have failed to ever build a successful society of their own.
How are these people going to be imported into our country with no experience, with no success, with no proven track record of doing anything of note in their own countries? At a minimum, we would need to teach them how to integrate and behave in our society. But they didn't care about that. All they cared about was getting bodies here so that they could be put on the voter rolls. Now, Representative Delia Ramirez, she comes from a family of illegals, and she has just introduced a piece of legislation called the Melt Ice Act. It's not going to be successful, but I think that it's going to shine a light on her and the people in her family, because many of them be rounded up and deported as of right now. So Delia Ramirez yesterday announced this Melt Ice Act at the House Homeland Security Committee hearing, and she says that it would prohibit DHS from using funds to detain or monitor immigrants, which would, of course, limit ICE's authority and ability to continue to do their job, or, as she put it, to continue to cause pain and terror. It would also take money that was meant for ICE, and it would give it to communities impacted by ICE's terror. Those are her exact words. She also, of course, incorrectly accused ICE of threatening, kidnapping, and killing people and tear gassing babies. We will talk more about tear gassing babies a little bit later. She's also stated on the record that her family members are here illegally. She said, half my family is still undocumented. She said that in an interview with MSNBC. She's also declared that she is a proud Guatemalan before she's an American. She admitted that her allegiance is to not America and American citizens, but to these illegal invaders that have been imported by the deep state and many Democrats. She and her entire family of illegal alien family members should be deported. She said, DHS and ICE, it's not rogue. Let me tell you why. Because from its establishment, Congress empowered DHS to violate our rights under the pretense of safety and security. And she said that the surveillance of illegal aliens and left-wing domestic terrorists is a threat to our collective safety. Let that one sink in. And if you'll remember, she had no problem with the Biden administration spying on Americans. Remember, TSA and the air marshals were spying on Americans, not even in the air, but like out on the streets. They were designated for extra surveillance at airports, monitoring of their social media accounts, and then active tracking when they were on the ground. She also said that DHS is being used as a weapon to be pointed towards anyone the government considers a public enemy. So we must take the weapon away and hold those who have allowed our communities to be terrorized accountable. She also then, during the course of her grandstanding, questioned the senior official performing the duties of the administrator for the Transportation Security Administration, Ha Nguyen McNeil, which had previously weaponized that Quiet Skies program I just alluded to a moment ago that was used to spy on conservatives, Republican lawmakers, journalists, and even medical professionals. Dr. Madha Gautamakala, who is the acting director of cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, targeted and censored conservatives under Biden over their cooperation with ICE. She also accused TSA under President Trump of making life miserable for people that have every right to travel domestically and who pose no threat to aviation. She would be referring to illegal aliens who have no form of identification or any sort of background checks, because as a frequent flyer over the course of the Biden administration, I will tell you that every single flight that I was on was packed to the gills with illegal aliens. People who had no identification, they would simply walk up to TSA and hold a piece of paper, which gave them carte blanche to go through. They didn't have to get their irises scanned. They didn't have to be patted down. They didn't have to be searched. Nothing. They were just allowed to fly, and they were probably flying for free. She then expressed her outrage that CISA is no longer working with social media companies to spy on people like you and censoring conservatives on the internet, even though that sort of behavior is exactly what she was decrying here in her announcement of this Melt ICE Act. Now, Commander Greg Bavino, who I believe is in Minnesota still, was questioned during a press conference earlier about what the actions are going to be required to satisfy Border Patrol, DHS, and ICE. And he was asked, how many of these illegals are you going to deport? And I think that everybody here knows the answer to that question, but let's listen to Commander Bavino.
There is a number, and it's called all of them. Yep, you bet. All of them. We're not going to allow criminal illegal aliens to walk the streets and have more Molly Tibbetts, Jacqueline Nungare's, and all the other ones. I mean, you're worried about numbers. I'm worried about the deaths of Americans. Let's talk about that a little bit. Maybe Jacqueline Nungare, what her last moments were like. How come we never talk about that? And you're worried about numbers. Wait, no, hold on. Numbers? Jacqueline Nungare. Numbers, but your numbers, Jacqueline Nungare, well, actually, we never hear about her or the other thousands of American citizens. I'm worried about that vastly more than a number or a date. We're going to make Mom and Pa America safe. President Trump is, Secretary Noem is, and we're going to get them all. Did that answer your question, sir? Really quick. Thank you.
Yeah, it's an obvious answer. There's only one way to do this right, and that is to get every single one of those people out of this country. Duke Nukem USA says, congrats on 8 years, dude. Appreciate you, homie. Seems like that's exactly how long I've been listening to you. It is. I mean, it's only because I got sober that I got the courage to be able to do the show. Hope to meet you someday working on something cool to send you my Xenomorph brother. Awesome, dude. I look forward to seeing it and getting it in the mail. All right, now, Vice President Vance also just arrived in Minneapolis. You'll probably remember that Attorney General Pam Bondi also arrived in Minneapolis this week. He is essentially going to be on the ground helping to coordinate a number of things. There's obviously been a lot of attacks, violence, unrest against ICE agents, and, of course, the unfortunate death of Renee Nicole Good. And the protests may have lessened in their intensity since they have set up that barrier around the ICE facility, but there is still the same type of rhetoric that is coming from Mayor Jacob Frey. Seems that Governor Tim Walz has quieted down a little bit. But let's just go ahead and watch the opening portion of JD's speech here as he arrives. It's also worth mentioning that the old Minnesota flag was on display at the press conference rather than the Somali-centric flag that Governor Tim Walz had put into its place since he's been in office. I would imagine that very soon we're going to have that old flag back, and the Somali flag is going to be gone.
Good afternoon, everybody. How are we doing? Good. So I want to thank the law enforcement officers behind me for being here. I'll answer a few questions, but I want to say just a few things at the outset, just about what I've learned today and what I'm trying to do here. First of all, I want to give a shout out to the Annunciation school shooting families, because the last time I was in Minneapolis, it was, of course, to meet with some of those families. I understand that a couple of the students have made near miraculous recoveries, and just that was a very special moment for me to be invited into that community at a time of grief. And I hope that all of them know that though I didn't get to see them this particular time, I've been thinking about them and their families quite a bit. Now, to talk about what I am here to do, which is federal law enforcement to enforce our immigration laws, I want to say just a few things. First of all, I wanted to meet with business leaders, with ICE officers, with local law enforcement to try to understand a little bit better what's going on so that we can tone down the temperature a little bit, reduce the chaos, but still allow us as a federal government to enforce the American immigration laws. That is the purpose of my visit. Now, this is step one or step two of that process. There's going to be a lot of work that follows through from here. I'm happy to talk about that, but I think I learned a few things that were very important. So number one of the things I learned is that the guys behind me are doing an incredible job, and frankly, a lot of the media is lying about the job that they do every single day. Now, that it doesn't mean
the media is also completely misrepresenting what the mandate of ICE is, what the powers that they have are, what they are allowed to do. And many of the people who are paid protesters, agitators, the ICE Watch crowd, they have no interest in learning what ICE is legally allowed to do. And they are fundamentally misinformed every single time they run up and start demanding that ICE present a warrant or tell them who they are. They have no responsibility to do any of that. And now ICE has the power in Minneapolis or in the carrying out of these missions. If they know that an illegal alien is in a home, they now have the power to simply enter. They don't have to do it politely. They don't have to wait for somebody to answer the door. That means that we're going to be much, much quicker in getting these people out of the country. But it also leads to perhaps a more dangerous situation where if ICE comes in, then you may have leftists in those homes with guns waiting to start shooting because they've said as much on social media.
That there aren't occasionally stories out there, there aren't occasionally videos out there that suggest that these guys, or at least some of the people who work for them, are not doing everything right. But very often, if you look at the context of what's going on, you understand that these people are under an incredible amount of duress, an incredible amount of chaos, and because of a few very far left agitators, a lot of these guys are unable to do their jobs without being harassed, without being doxxed, and sometimes without being assaulted. That's totally unacceptable. And that's one of the things that I want to send a message to is, yes, come out and protest me, protest our immigration policy, but do it peacefully. If you assault a law enforcement officer, the Trump administration and the Department of Justice is going to prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. And I wanted to show some support for.
All right, so prosecutions is just about the only thing we want to see, JD. But it was mentioned earlier that these Somalian scammers did not operate alone. And I will hearken you back to one of my favorite phrases. When does a bird sing? Well, a bird sings when it's caged. And the woman, Amy Block, who is the ringleader of the Feeding Our Future $250 million welfare fraud scheme that kicked off all of the stories nationwide about the fraud that was going on in Minneapolis, now appears to be singing. She is telling authorities that local Democrat officials like Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison were aware of the fraud that was taking place. I think we all assumed that there was some level of knowledge, But I want you to remember that she's making these statements at the same time that Keith Ellison, Jacob Fry, Tim Walz, and Ilhan Omar have all now just come under criminal investigation by the FBI and the Department of Justice. They've all just received subpoenas. So this information is coming at a very opportune time.
Convicted ringleader of the $250 million Minnesota welfare fraud scandal, telling Fox News she believes the state leaders knew taxpayer money was being stolen and did nothing to stop it.
But I guess, how high up do you think the message went that there was fraud? Like, do you think it made its way to the governor's office?
I struggle to believe it didn't. I have to believe that the governor's office and Keith Ellison's office were aware of this. They've said they were involved in helping the FBI. They've said they were made aware.
A spokesperson for the state attorney general responding, saying in part, quote, treating the words of a convicted fraudster like Amy Bach as though they have any credibility is shocking. She is a liar, fraudster, and manipulator of the highest order who has never acknowledged or accepted her guilt.
Of course, Keith Ellison is going to say that. Keith Ellison is going to be on the chopping block very soon. Now, very briefly, at Davos, Gavin Newsom was confronted about Don Lemon and his co-conspirators' actions over the weekend, and he acted like he had never heard of this incident. Are you kidding me? You may be in Davos, but you're not living in a box. All right, real quickly, before we continue, I've got a very brief message from our friends over here on Rumble. You guys, they can freeze your accounts, they can shut off your cards, they can lock you out of your own money, they can do it at a whim. Banks don't protect you, they control you. That's why real financial freedom starts with ownership. So, introducing Rumble Wallet. It's a non-custodial wallet built for people who refuse to give up control. With Rumble Wallet, you don't just buy digital currency like Bitcoin and Tether, you can also own Tether Gold, which is real gold on the blockchain. Through Tether Gold, you get direct ownership of physical gold bars. Each one is fully allocated, verifiable by serial number, purity, and weight. It's not paper gold. It's not an IOU. This is real gold. You don't have to pay for a bank vault. You don't have to pay storage fees, and there are no gatekeepers that stand in between you and that gold. You can buy, sell, or move it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even when traditional gold markets are closed. And if you want, Tether Gold can be redeemed for physical gold. That is powerful. And when you support content creators on Rumble, you can tip them directly using the Rumble wallet. It's peer-to-peer, totally outside the banking system, and nobody takes a cut of that. So thank you again, Frodo Baggins, for that donation earlier on Rumble Wallet. No permissions, no middlemen, no cancel button. The wallet is yours forever. So head on over to wallet.rumble.com, check out the App Store on your phone, or use that QR code you see on screen. Thank you very much. And also thank you to R.L. Skeeter, who says, hey, Zach, I love your news. I've been with you when we used to be able to call in and witness Muffingate. I am so happy for your 8 years, man. You are the best. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that, man. And it's great to see you around. I love seeing the names that I have seen traveling here from YouTube, pilled all over the place, seeing everybody still here. The Lonesome Strummer says, you got to show the Ivan Raiklen clip before you go. He's a legend. I will go ahead and show it. And let's first check out Gavin Newsom lying through his teeth. Oh, no, that's not it. Here it is. Yeah, I find it difficult to believe that Gavin Newsom hasn't heard about this incident in the couple of days since it happened.
We're going to expand our buses here, yeah, very soon.
It's amazing.
Yes.
It's a remarkable success.
Governor Newsom, we need a leader like you.
Isaac,
it's fine, dude. I'm not.
Governor Newsom,
you
remember, I'm friends with Charlie. I was friends, obviously, as you know.
Yeah,
I always appreciate your interview. Quick question. You mentioned Minneapolis. Any comment on this Don Lemon charging those guys into the church like that? It's funny. Someone mentioned Don Lemon and Trump the other day, and so I have no idea what that's about. Big viral story. He had a bunch of agitators. They ran into some kind of church. Don Lemon. Into a church? Yes.
You've been focused on this?
No, but it's not even at this focus. Literally don't know anything about it.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, man. Great.
I don't know anything about it. Well, it doesn't matter. He's going to hear about it now. So Pam Bondi went to Minneapolis for a reason. And part of that reason was to bring charges against all of those people that came into the church. Now, of course, not every single one of them is going to be charged. It's likely initially anyways, only going to be the ringleaders. This is that F around, find out moment.
See, as you can see, the more you around, the more you're going to find out.
So Pam announced this morning that they had already arrested several of the key organizers. We can see here, she said this was about 9:30 this morning. Minutes ago at my direction, Homeland Security Investigations Headquarters and FBI agents executed an arrest in Minnesota. So far, we have arrested Nekima Levy Armstrong. She was the one who planned and organized that attack in the church. And she said we will share more updates. We've had several of those updates. We've also gotten perp walk photographs of Nekima right here walking out in handcuffs with Homeland Security Investigations right behind her. And very quickly after that, we had a second arrest that was made. Here, let me show you that second arrest. That would be this woman right here who sits on the school board and is also employed, I believe, by the city of Minneapolis. We've got them all, and I'm just going to go here so that I can remember her name. Okay, what was her name? Well, apparently she's not that important because nobody is quoting her name. Anyways, we've already gone over this before, but she also was arrested very quickly there. Here we go. Chantel Louisa Allen. All of them have been charged with conspiracy to deprive rights. This is a charge under the KKK.
Lockup's in there.
This is her being brought out from the vehicle by Homeland Security Investigations. She's a big girl, so she can't be comfortable right now. I don't know that either of them truly understand the gravity of the charges against them. And I don't know if they're going to be bonded or if they're going to be held due to the severity of the charges. But the initial set of arrests was for 8 people. It was Don Lemon and 7 of the top people who had planned this event. Now, initially, the magistrate judge refused to sign the arrest warrant for Don Lemon. So the way this works is under the Enforcement Act, the Attorney General has the power to bring charges in any jurisdiction in the United States. There is both a criminal and a civil component. We're talking about many years in prison, and we're also talking about many hundreds of $1,000s in fines. Literally every single parishioner who was at that church over the weekend would have a civil claim against Don Lemon, Nekima Levy Armstrong, Chantel. Every single one of those people could be sued for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and every member of that church could sue each and every one of those people individually. Now, the Minnesota magistrate judge who refused to sign off on the arrest warrant for Don Lemon is Douglas L. Mico. Now, Douglas L. Mico is interesting because his wife is actually an employee of Attorney General Keith Ellison. There could be a number of reasons why Magistrate Judge Mico would refuse to sign that arrest warrant. Now, let's be very clear. They've already been charged, okay? Don Lemon and these other people, they have been charged by the federal government. The case is there. They have their intention. It's just a matter of getting Don Lemon arrested. So as far as I know, up until this point, Don Lemon is not among the 3 that have been arrested. I don't know if anybody else beyond them has been arrested because that's where we stood when the show started. But the judge could have looked at the evidence against Don Lemon and said, I don't think there's enough evidence here to charge him, and so we're not going to do that. But it's interesting that he was willing to sign the arrest warrants for the other people and not Don Lemon. I tend to think that the reason he didn't sign the arrest warrant for Don Lemon is because he probably thought that it was too controversial. Maybe he thought that there could be an argument that would be made for freedom of the press, even though that's bullshit. Don Lemon participated in this action, certainly conspired to deprive the rights of every single person in that church on that day. He was gleefully participating in the events. So ultimately, I think that the reason that Don Lemon's arrest warrant wasn't signed was for corrupt reasons. There is a direct connection between his wife and the Attorney General's office. The Attorney General of Minnesota could have brought charges against all of these people the day of, or maybe the day after, because it was on a Sunday. But obviously, nobody in Minnesota is going to do that. So the next phase that the Attorney General Pam Bondi could have would be to essentially bring the evidence to a grand jury. And then if the grand jury finds enough evidence based upon that evidence to indict, then there would be no judge that would be making the decision on the arrest after that. The indictment would be secured. They would have everything they need to go and pick him up. There is also the possibility that Attorney General Pam Bondi may attempt to bring charges against Don Lemon in a different venue, someplace where there isn't the possibility of the corrupt intervention of the Minnesota deep state. But it was charges for Don Lemon and then 7 others, and it was Josh Gerstein who had actually found the criminal court records, which showed Don Lemon's name on the docket. Now that the magistrate judge had refused to sign that warrant, Don Lemon's name was temporarily removed from the court records. Let me go to this version right here. All right. So allegedly, the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, is enraged at the judge's move, and she's been there for 2 days sort of planning for this action to take place, and the DOJ is not going to rest. They have already stated that the process is not over, and the Justice Department is going to find another way to charge Don Lemon and have him arrested. So it's merely a matter of time at this moment. We also have Kristi Noem sharing the arrest right here. If anybody wants to look it up, we went over it the other day. But Nakima Armstrong and the others being charged for conspiracy to deprive rights are being charged under 18 U.S.C. 241 for depriving the parishioners of their First Amendment right to practice their religion. Now, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche can be seen here discussing the case. And here we're going to go ahead and listen.
The disgraced former CNN host Don Lemon was part of the crowd that went into that church. He's suggesting that his interviews and cell phone video were part of journalism. There has been some suggestions as well that the DOJ would look at his behavior in that incident. He doesn't get a get out of jail free card because he's self-described as a journalist.
Freedom of the press extends to a lot of different areas. It does not extend to somebody just trespassing and being embedded with a group of rioters and being part of the group that storms inside of a church. So as our Assistant Attorney General said yesterday, we are absolutely investigating that conduct. And the fact that man, that Mr. Lemon, thought that was a good idea to do that and then to race away from it saying it was freedom of the press, well, we'll see. We'll see.
So I believe that interview came out last night. So I just played that to underscore the fact that the Department of Justice is taking this very, very seriously. Now, the announcement for the arrest of Nakima Armstrong, I believe initially, well, after Pam Bondi, Kristi Noem mentions that she is being charged under 18 U.S.C. 241. Religious freedom is the bedrock of the United States. There is no First Amendment right to obstruct someone from practicing their religion. And then Pam Bondi announced the arrest of school board member Chantel Louisa Allison. But the one that I am probably most excited about is the arrest of DeWoke farmer William Kelly. He's the guy who told Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice to come effing find him. He's also the one who was screaming in the faces of the women who were sitting quietly trying to wait for everything to blow over, screaming in the face of the crying children, trying to tell them that because they were dressed for church, they were fake Christians. William Kelly is a truly disgusting individual. So now he also is charged with a violation of the FACE Act, 18 U.S.C. 248. And you can see here, this is the image of William Kelly being arrested live this morning. This was released by Secretary Noem around 1:30 this afternoon. You can see here, obviously, he's wearing his F Trump stocking cap and his resist the coup with the commie fist button right there. And of course, he's also got the Middle Eastern scarf on because all communists are obligated to wear that. So Don Lemon is, very importantly, part of those 8 individuals that were charged. Someone in YouTube chat earlier had said Don Lemon was in charge because Grok said they were in charge. No, Don Lemon is definitely charged. Don Lemon will be arrested. It's just a matter of finding the proper mechanism to ensure that he is arrested so that we can hold him to account the same way we are holding everybody else to account. Kash Patel also had to tweet it out. Every last individual who allegedly targets our brave federal law enforcement, targets places of worship, or in any way pays for or facilitates such illegal activity will be pursued and they will be caught. So here is another image of Nakima Armstrong being arrested. This is both her with FBI and HSI posing for that glamour shot. Here we also have Chantel. Oh my God, look at her pointing. What is she doing there? FBI and HSI. That is interesting. William Kelly, I wonder if there will be body camera footage released of him being arrested, because I can only imagine that that would have been pretty incredible to see. All right. Now, let me also say thank you very much to Darla, who said Jack Smith answered like he was training his clients to answer questions. What a joke. Oh, yeah. He was using everything that he's ever learned as a lawyer. Filter Dog says the U.S. officially exits the WHO today. $260 million in owed fees, not paid WHO losses, 18% of its funding, 25% of its staff cut mid-year. That was actually the first story we went over. But yeah, for anybody who did not hear that story, the United States has today left the WHO. As a result, they're going to lose close to 20% of their funding, and they're going to be forced to cut off 25% of their staff. And now we are no longer going to be part of that global body. Sean Joe, thank you for the cookie. All right, now, we also have a statement from the attorneys that are representing the city's church in St. Paul. This is the church that was accosted over the weekend. Renee Carlson is the general counsel for True North Legal, who is representing the parishioners. The First Amendment does not allow premeditated plots or coordinated actions to violate the sanctity of a sanctuary, disrupt worship, and intimidate small children. There is no trespass to invade a sanctuary or to conspire to interrupt religious services. The Constitution protects citizens from threats against fundamental rights by the government, but it also requires government to protect those same rights when they are jeopardized by private actors. And here's a statement from Doug Wardlow. He's the director of litigation, also at True North Legal. The First Amendment protects the God-given rights of every American to assemble and to worship God. It does not give anyone the right to invade a church and terrorize worshipers. That's a federal crime. The FACE Act prohibits intimidation or interfering with people worshiping in a church. It is outrageous that instead of doing their jobs and protecting Minnesotans' rights, state officials like Keith Ellison chose to mock the invasion of the church. Thankfully, the U.S. Department of Justice acted decisively by arresting those who coordinated and carried out the terrible crime. The arrests and the prosecutions to follow will help ensure that mob aggression like City's Church experienced will not be repeated in any other house of worship. We are thankful for the Department of Justice's swift action, and we are exploring all legal options to protect the church and prevent further invasions. And I would imagine he's specifically referring to that civil component that I mentioned earlier. If that is the case, that they are going to file those civil charges, Don Lemon and everybody else who is being charged is going to be on the hook for tens of millions of dollars. That would be enough to ruin any of those people. Probably Don Lemon would be the only one who could even come close to paying the settlement that would necessarily come from that, but I don't even think he's going to have enough money. Let me say thank you to eGrab4. Why'd you use a fat photo for the thumbnail? Huh? A fat photo for the thumbnail? That boy's on Ozempic. He's also proof that news anchors are dumb when they don't have a teleprompter to read. So that picture, I actually had to use an AI image generator to create it because it doesn't exist yet. So I don't know. I just looked like Don Lemon to me. I wasn't thinking about fat or thin. All right, now Let's hear a little bit about that woman who put this whole thing together, Nakia Levy Armstrong. Turns out she is not only a itinerant preacher, turns out she's not only a part-time organizer, she is also, of course, a radical left-wing globalist, and she has collected a fair sum of money running a fraudulent, allegedly, anti-poverty nonprofit that is largely funded by the Gates Foundation and the Tides Foundation and all of the biggest offenders. I wonder if they're going to get their grants cut off now that Nakia Levy Armstrong has been charged in this deprivation of rights case. So we can take a look at the nonprofit industrial complex, and every time you look, you see people like Nakia Levy Armstrong. This organization that she runs is, of course, an organization that, much like all of these other organizations we've been uncovering, is designed to siphon money out of the non-governmental organization coffers. And then, of course, they use that money to put on actions like what we saw with, what did they call it, Operation Pop-Up over the weekend. So revealingly, she styles herself as a scholar, activist, and civil rights attorney. She claimed in a social media post that one of the church's pastor has ties to ICE. The protest was part of this broader anti-American campaign opposing federal immigration enforcement and increased scrutiny over immigration-related fraud in Minnesota. When you look at tax filings, you find a very different story. It's a story of personal enrichment and ideological activism underwritten by tax-advantaged charities. Public records show Nakia Levy Armstrong served as executive director for an organization called the Wayfounder Foundation. She was there for at least 6 years, from 2019 to 2024. During that time, she enriched herself to the tune of $936,395 in salary alone, along with an additional $201,313 in health benefits and other bonuses and compensation. So in total, her personal compensation exceeded more than $1.1 million, which is a lot of money for somebody who is running a nonprofit that is focused on alleviating poverty. That money should have been going to the community, Nakima. The imbalance is even more striking when you compare it to the foundation's actual charitable output. This is another thing you look for. You've got a nonprofit who is taking in vast sums of money. They are supposed to be fixing homeless problems, helping out with poverty, doing any mission at all. And oftentimes what you'll see is that the money just goes into the pockets of the executives at the organization. Among those 6 years that Nakia Levy Armstrong was at the Wayfounder Foundation, they distributed roughly $700,000 in grants, meaning that far more money was funneled to personally enrich their executives than to the communities they claimed to serve. The pattern was pretty stark in 2024. In that year, the foundation awarded merely $158,811 to poor people in grants, while Armstrong collected a salary of $215,726 plus an additional $40,548 in benefits and deferred compensation. The year before, pretty much the same thing. Armstrong was able to pull in $170,726 with an additional $44,300 in other compensation and only dispersed $133,698 in grants. In 2022, she received roughly $208,000 in total compensation, while Wayfair handed out grants totaling $161,325. Sounds like they were more interested in paying their executives than they were in actually fighting poverty. Over that same 6-year span, the Wayfair Foundation reported more than $5.2 million in revenue. The money came not from grassroots donors putting together individual donations, but from those major institutional players that we have seen connected to so many other non-governmental organizations operating the world over. Among those donors was the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. They contributed $20,000 in 2023. They were supposed to be supporting programs aimed at educating and supporting Black communities. More significantly, was backing from the Walton Christian Family Foundation, I believe that's the people behind Walmart, they donated approximately $2.34 million between 2018 and 2024. Archived versions of Wayfinder's now defunct website shed light on exactly how that money was intended to be used. They openly described a goal of funding activists who would challenge the status quo and disrupt business as usual within systems that perpetuate oppression. Sounds to me like what the Wayfinder Foundation was doing was paying protesters. They were one of those organizations that was funneling money from these major billionaire foundations, putting it into the hands of paid protesters, and then sending them out into the world to do the type of work that we witnessed on Sunday. Where others see deficiencies, lack, and want, Wayfinder sees opportunities for little revolutions that place demands on power and change systems for the better, she wrote in a funding message. She also added, "We get there by investing directly in the most basic unit of change in a child's life, their mother." But in reality, little revolutions equals radical left, anti-Christian, anti-white, anti-ICE political agitation subsidized by your taxpayer dollars. She herself has been leading figures in boycotts against places like Target. It's funny, we were just seeing that in Minnesota this week, after they scaled back their diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. And her public record also includes praise for convicted cop killer Joanne Chesimard, also known as Assata Shakur. In 2023, she posted something to Shakur. She called her a brave, wise, powerful, and revolutionary Black woman. The injustice is glaring while working families struggle with inflation, taxes, and declining public services. Radical left anti-American activists are being lavishly compensated so they can go out and attack churches, undermine law enforcement, and push an explicitly anti-Christian and anti-American ideology. Well, they're not going to be doing that anymore. Now, what also is interesting is right here in my backyard in St. Augustine, journalist Caitlin Bennett, who many of you probably are familiar with, was just recently arrested and charged. Take a look at this. She revealed this week that she was charged with a federal crime and fined by the National Park Service in St. Augustine. And all she was doing was asking Democrats questions while she was standing on public property. So according to her, federal agents targeted her while she was conducting on-the-street interviews, which is a form of self-expression in journalism that a lot of people do nowadays. Despite the fact that she was on public land, they cited and punished her simply for engaging in political speech with the left because they didn't like what she was saying. So she wrote on X, "I was charged with a federal crime by the National Park Service in St. Augustine, Florida, for committing the grave offense of asking Democrats questions on public property. Keep federal agents out of our cities unless they're locking up conservatives for different opinions." Of course, that would be the tactic that the left is currently using, because when Caitlin Bennett was arrested and charged, of course, nobody said boo about it. The left wasn't up in arms because her First Amendment rights were being stomped upon. Now, in this video footage, we can see here, this is her actually being cited.
You probably might go to jail.
I'm gonna go to jail.
Possibly.
She's literally asking the police to remove me from public property.
All right, you guys need to move.
Why?
Over here, First Amendment area.
Yeah, this is a First Amendment area.
You don't have a permit here. They do.
Yeah, so what does the permit
it's
do?
time to leave.
I want my rights to be respected. I'm allowed to be on public property.
Here is our First Amendment area, number 5,
Yeah.
for small groups and counter protesters.
Yeah.
You're a small group.
No, I'm not.
And you're a counter protester.
I'm media.
Are you here with this group?
I'm here with media.
You need to move.
They're thanking them for writing me
Let's
a ticket.
go. You're being detained for a ticket. Over here. Let's go. You're on federal land. I'm a federal officer.
Yes, great.
So you're getting a federal ticket.
Okay, great. I can't wait to fight this. The liberals here in St. Augustine, Florida, are cheering because this guy is trying to kick me off of public property.
No. You get to stand here.
No.
On federal public property.
Public.
Where
You notice you said public?
to be.
You don't
Okay.
get to tell me which public
I do.
property
I'm
I
with
can
the
be
National
at.
Park Service.
Yeah. Tell me
We
how this is
designate
private
First
property.
Amendment area. I'm sorry
This
that
is
you
my
don't know
First
the
Amendment.
rules and regulations. I'm sorry.
Oh man, this is gonna be good.
Do you have anything with your ID on?
No,
Okay, get your mic out of my face.
I'm allowed to do this. This is my First
You're
Amendment
not allowed
right.
to stick your mic in my face. So step back and get it out of my face.
So here's the thing. I am on public property. He just admitted I was on public property. This is not permitted to turn this space into private property. You guys cannot do this. We have been over this in Florida with 3 different police departments. 3. I love
content for you.
More did you say more content for me? Thank you.
Disobeying a lawful order is your ticket.
What lawful order was that?
I directed you to go from there
Yeah.
to here.
Yeah. And you think that was lawful?
And you refused my lawful order.
Yeah, so that was lawful, huh?
So this is United States District Court violation notice. It's a $500 forfeiture, $30 processing fee.
Very cool.
Total collateral is $530.
What was the lawful order that you just...
He didn't tell me.
He didn't tell you?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's a local journalist here. Actually, why don't you go ask him? You're a journalist. Go ask him.
I'll go ask.
Go ask him. So you asked what lawful order I disobeyed?
And he couldn't tell me, he said.
Yeah, it is too bad that we have people like that out there. Now, Hakeem Jeffries, shockingly, does not want ICE to be able to enter churches to arrest illegal aliens, which is particularly hypocritical given what just happened in that church in Minnesota. Of course, the left fully supported the protesters going in and depriving those parishioners of their rights, but for some reason, Hakeem Jeffries doesn't want to play the same game. In fact, it's a very different game, but a similar type of circumstance. Only the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or maybe ICE, or maybe Homeland Security Investigations, or somebody else from DHS going into a church to arrest a known criminal illegal alien is perfectly legal. Whereas the protesters entering the church to deprive those parishioners of their rights is not illegal.
That's common.
Is not legal.
Sense. ICE should not be able to storm houses of worship, hospitals, and schools. That's common sense. That relates to protocols that exist for every other law enforcement agency in the country. ICE should have a use of force standard. None currently exists.
Well, the use of force is commensurate with the amount of resistance that they are receiving. All right, real quickly, one more special message from our friends on Rumble. You guys, they can cancel your accounts. They can freeze your cards. They can decide what you're allowed to say, who you're allowed to support, or what you're allowed to buy. Big banks and financial institutions have total control, and they use it. That's why financial independence matters now more than ever. So, introducing Rumble Wallet. It's a non-custodial wallet built for real freedom. With Rumble Wallet, you control your money, not a bank, not a government, not a tech company. You can buy digital assets like Tether, Tether Gold, and Bitcoin all in one place. No permission, no middlemen, no cancel button. And when you want to support the creators you actually believe in, you can use the Rumble Wallet app directly to tip content creators. It's fast and there is no interference. It's not a credit line they can shut off. It is your wallet permanently, yours to protect for the future, yours to protect for your family. So when the system fails, when institutions turn on their own people, financial sovereignty is the difference between security and vulnerability. Rumble Wallet is not about politics. It's about freedom, ownership, and protecting what's yours. So take control today, download Rumble Wallet now, and step away from the big banks for good. True ownership, true protection, and true financial freedom. Thank you very much to Rumble. All right, now, considering that Ilhan Omar is currently under federal investigation by the United States government, it might be a good time to remind everyone looking into her past that not only was she directly implicated in immigration fraud, not only does she appear to be directly implicated in financial fraud and a number of different financial scams taking place in Minnesota, but she was also, several years ago, directly connected to a ballot harvesting scheme that was first uncovered by James O'Keefe. If you'll remember, there was a secret video that was recorded, a man named Liban Mohammed, who said that he was collecting ballots to help his brother win the city's August 11th special election for a vacant Ward 6 city council race that was held the same day as the primary for Ilhan Omar's Minnesota 5 congressional seat. Numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie. This guy was on tape saying, "You can see my car is full." He was actually recording this himself. All these here are absentee ballots. Can't you see? Look at these. My car is full. These are all for Jamal Osman. We got 300 today for Jamal Osman only. He posted this on his Snapchat profile. And he continued by saying money is everything. Money is the king in this world. If you got no money, you should not be here, period. Well, then you and all the rest of the Somalians should get the hell out because you're not getting this money anymore. Ballot harvesting is real, and it is a big business, especially in the Somali community. James O'Keefe's investigation into that ballot harvesting ring demonstrated how these unscrupulous operators would exploit elderly and immigrant communities, and then they would turn that ballot box into a commodity by which they could make money. James O'Keefe added, "We are showing Americans what is really going on in one of our great cities, but it's not me saying it. We have the operators on tape saying it themselves." Omar Jamal, who was a political insider active in the city's Somali community, reached out to then Project Veritas to expose the scheme. He said it's an open secret, and she, Ilhan Omar, will do anything that she can to get elected, and she has hundreds of people on the street doing exactly what this man, what was his name? Liban Mohammed, what Liban Mohammed was doing right there. Now, Project Veritas actually told the Hennepin County District Attorney, who at that time was Jeff Wojciechowski, about what was going on, and told him that it was illegal. And of course, the Hennepin County District Attorney said that they would be investigating, but nothing ever came of it. And now that Ilhan Omar again is being criminally investigated, I think it's time that somebody investigate her role in the ballot harvesting scheme there in Minnesota. Now, we also have new information about Ilhan Omar's financial situation and the current investigation going on at the Department of Justice. It would appear that Ilhan Omar and her husband went from having a net worth of $16,000 to suddenly having a net worth of $30 million in a single year. Now, in order to explain where that money comes from, of course, they are saying that it has something to do with their various series of companies. But the only problem is that there are no records which would be on file with the SEC that would show that either she or her husband or their investment firm, for that matter, are registered with the SEC as investment advisors. They've got a couple of businesses named Rose Lake Capital, also Rose Lake Capital LLC, and the names Tim Minette and Will Haler do not show up as listed registered investment advisors with the SEC. Remember, that is Ilhan Omar's husband's business. He is supposed to be managing people's investments. Major reporting also never mentions any SEC advisor registrations. So Tim Minette, Ilhan Omar's husband, and his partner, Will Haler, have little to no experience on Wall Street. But they co-founded a political consultancy group in D.C. called E Street Group, and Minette was a major Democrat fundraiser in Washington, D.C. for about 15 years. So he obviously had connections to people with money. During that time, he helped raise more than $100 million for Democrats, and he worked on Ilhan Omar's 2019 re-election campaign. That's where they met, and that's where it looks like she cheated on her husband to end up shacking up with this white boy. Haler spent nearly 2 decades in U.S. politics, especially inside Democrat Party leadership. He was also a senior advisor to the DNC chair. Minette's firm would typically be required to file something called a Form ADV, and then they would have to register with the Securities and Exchange Commission. The reason there could be no SEC forms may be because, to stay below reporting thresholds, it only advises a small number of high net worth or institutional clients, or they only advise VC firms, venture capital firms, or they do not use leverage like hedge funds. But all of it means that his firm is pretty limited in scope, which means that it looks more like a political advisory firm and not necessarily a financial management company. So that begs the question, how did this very small, limited firm go from having no assets on day one to having $30 million accumulated in just 1 year? What did they do to skyrocket the value of their company by literally $30 million in a single year? Well, as I mentioned, they have a number of businesses. You've got that winery. Back in 2020, Omar's husband, Tim Minette, and his business partner, Will Haler, launched their California winery. It was called Est Cru. Ilhan Omar first disclosed this winery in her government financial disclosures in 2021. In 2021, she valued the winery between $15,000 and $50,000, and she reported the same valuations in 2022 and 2023. It was 2022 when Minette and Haler launched Rose Lake Capital, this so-called venture capital management firm, where they aim to do global financial deal-making. But documents show there is very little to no information about any actual clients, any investments they've made, any history of making deals. Ilhan Omar valued Rose Lake at between $1 and $1,000 in her 2022 filings, and she reported the same valuation in her 2023 government disclosures. But then suddenly, she reported valuations of skyrocketing value in just 1 year in 2024. She reported Rose Lake's value between $5 and $25 million. And also, suddenly, the winery was much, much more valuable as well, between $1 and $5 million. So that contributes to the overall asset range of at least $6 million, but as high as $30 million in her 2025 filings. Undoubtedly, the FBI and the DOJ are aware of all of this, and they are currently using it as part of their investigation right now. JJ Breedlove, thank you so much for the $100 rant. Zach, I sent you an email today regarding a complimentary Ohm Fitness electromuscle stimulation suit. Oh, wow. Full body, game changer. I, too, suffered from lower back pain. Give it a try. That is awesome. Thank you so much, dude. I really appreciate that. I will definitely check the email and I'll see what that's all about. I can't tell you how much that means to me. Thank you very much. All right. Now, also, it probably in an attempt to distract from the true nature of what is going on in Minnesota, Ilhan Omar and others in the mainstream media are now spinning a new lie about an incident that took place. The Minnesota Star Tribune is repeating this, NPR, Washington Post, all of them basically reporting on the same hoax. What the story is that they are repeating is that ICE had detained a 5-year-old child during an arrest operation in Minnesota. However, the DHS and ICE have, of course, gone on record after this fake news story started going around. It began on Tuesday, and there was ICE officers that were involved in actually protecting this child because the illegal alien father that they were looking to arrest abandoned him on the street while he was fleeing from the federal agents. That's right. ICE didn't just detain a 5-year-old out of nowhere. The father abandoned his own child so that he could run from federal agents, and he left that child essentially defenseless and without any adult supervision. So the Department of Homeland Security, of course, corrected the record on social media, saying that it was necessary for DHS, ICE, and the boys on the ground to safeguard this child because they have procedures when that happens. Unfortunately, this is not the first time it's happened. This won't be the last time it's happened, but it's also not going to be the last time that the fake news tells a fake story. So the officers approached Adrian Alexander Conejo Arias. He's an illegal from Ecuador. He had been released into the U.S. by the Biden regime, despite the fact that he was illegal. Arias had been ordered deported by a federal judge. He was driving with his 5-year-old son when agents attempted to arrest him. But instead of complying, he jumped out of the car, fled on foot, and he just left the vehicle with his child in it behind. So ICE did the only thing they could do. They stayed with the child and they waited for others to come and try to apprehend Arias. Now, the open borders officials and school employees at Columbia Heights Public School quickly spun this event into a scandal. The superintendent of Columbia Heights Public Schools, Zena Stenvik, held a news conference and questioned, why detain a 5-year-old child? You cannot tell me that this child is going to be classified as a violent criminal. Well, no, of course. But what should the ICE have done? What should they have done? Should they have simply allowed the child to remain in a running vehicle on the side of the road with no supervision? No, they did the only thing they could do. So the district then claimed that ICE agents used the boy as bait by having him knock on doors during the operation and refused to leave him with another adult who begged them to do so. And this was repeated ad nauseum and uncritically by places like NPR. They said ICE detains a 5-year-old Minnesota boy. School leader says agents used him as bait. The Star Tribune said preschooler and 3 other students detained by ICE. Washington Post followed suit and said that school officials were correct in their framing of this arrest as part of broader chaos, which was being perpetrated by ICE using children as bait. And Ilhan Omar did the exact same thing. She posted on X, ICE just detained a 5-year-old child. Don't tell us this is about the worst of the worst. That's a lie. Absolutely vile. Well, what's vile is Ilhan Omar's repeated lies. So here is the official account from DHS. On January 20th, ICE conducted a targeted operation to arrest the illegal from Ecuador who was released into the U.S. by Biden. As agents approached, the driver, Adrian Alexander Conejo Arias, fled on foot, abandoning his child. For the child's safety, one of our ICE officers remained with the child while the other officers apprehended Conejo Arias. Parents are asked if they want to be removed with their children, or ICE will place the children with a safe person the parent designates. This is consistent with past administration's immigration enforcement. Parents can take control of their departure and receive a free flight and $2,600 with the CBP Home app. By using the CBP Home app, illegal aliens reserve the chance to come back legally right away. But he didn't do that. He just abandoned his son. Pretty disgusting. And not, again, surprising that people would be attempting to capitalize on this lie and repeat it and say the same thing over and over again. Now, I promised you that we would talk about tear gassing babies. This woman right here, she and her husband were allegedly driving down the street, trying to go home. Her name is Destiny Jackson, also known as Destiny Bradshaw. And she claimed that ICE tear gassed them and they had a baby with them. So the baby was tear gassed. Now, this didn't happen this way. She actually took the opportunity to start a GoFundMe, and that GoFundMe has raised, I believe, over $200,000 now. But here is local news reporting on this and hearing from the alleged victims how they were assaulted by ICE and their children were gassed.
Fireworks were exchanged.
We were leaving South Minneapolis from our son's basketball game at Anderson Middle School.
As the night unfolded,
we started to see, lights and stuff.
One North Minneapolis family trying to make their way home.
Like, even trying to leave, I couldn't go backwards, forward. It was like I was just stuck.
Destiny and Sean Jackson, along with their 6 kids, had just left the nearby grocery store after the game when they turned onto Lyndale. Sean says they tried to take a side street after they saw the crowds.
There's nothing we can do if it's blocked off.
Sean and Destiny say they were stuck between crowds of protesters and law enforcement. When law enforcement tried to disperse the crowd,
all we heard was boom, and every airbag deployed.
They say a flashbang went off near their car as tear gas enveloped them.
And I was screaming to my oldest son, Sean. I'm like, get out, get out. Like, I can't, Mom, and I can't breathe.
Destiny says bystanders pulled her into a home to check on her as she screamed that her 6-month-old child was still in the car.
He was just like lifeless, like he had like foam like around his mouth, and he had tears coming out his eyes. I was giving him mouth to mouth, and I remember stopping and I said, I will give you all my breath till you get yours back, because nobody wants to see their kids like that.
The family was taken to the hospital, all now okay.
My kid's stuff is still in the car.
Every single thing they said in that report was a lie. Because the truth of the matter is that they went to this protest knowingly. They are photographed, they are videoed on the streets protesting. They left their 6 kids, their litter of puppies, in the car. And the gas, it happened, but it's because they took their kids into a protest. You know what's even worse? Now that she scammed nearly $200,000 from every retarded liberal who has bothered to give her money, back in 2019, She was convicted of murder and robbery. What she did was she lured a 21-year-old man to North Minneapolis through Facebook. There was like a robbery scam plot. She probably told him that he was going to get lucky or something like that. And then when he showed up, this guy was shot and killed. So she pled guilty to aiding and abetting. And now she is the public face of a $200,000 plus tear gas hoax. And here is the criminal complaint from the state of Minnesota, just proving that this is true. Destiny Lucretia Bradshaw, acting alone or intentionally aiding, advising, hiring, counseling, or conspiring with others, or otherwise procuring the others to commit the crime, caused the death of a victim, a human being, with intent to effect the death of that person or another, but without premeditation while using a firearm. So 6 years ago, she scammed a dude on Facebook, and he was murdered. She took part in that murder. And now she's scamming the people of Minnesota out of nearly $200,000. Now, I wonder if, I know that people have already reported her GoFundMe as being fraudulent. And I don't know if GoFundMe has declared it fraudulent yet, or if they are still planning on giving the money. So hold on just a second. I want to try and see if I can find the GoFundMe for Destiny Bradshaw. Okay. Fundraiser for Taylor King via... No, this is somebody totally different. Shocking background of mother... Most of these articles, like, they won't link to the GoFundMe because they don't want these people to get money. Let's go with her new name. I don't even think she's Somalian. Oh, shoot, that was the picture. This is her husband there in the midst of the riot. I believe this was on like a Facebook Live or something like that. Here she is as well out there. Again, just left her kids in the car. Here she is on Facebook Live outside of the car at the protest. Totally fake narrative around her and her husband coming from the basketball game. No, that's dialysis. Support the Jackson family after the ICE incident. Okay, so she's up to 173,000. I think that this has gone down. So I think that people may have taken their money back, but this is still up. And I'm going to go ahead and report this fundraiser. Hold on, I want to make sure I'm not going to dox myself when I report this fundraiser. Okay. All right. So yeah, I've got to do some more stuff to get this reported, but we are definitely going to report. So the $200,000 is the amount they're asking for. The $173,000 is what is there right now. We have another Somali scammer. This guy, Mubashir Hussein, claims he is suffering from life-altering PTSD because he was detained by ICE, and so he has started a $50,000 GoFundMe just to deal with the trauma. He doesn't have any injuries. He doesn't have trauma from that day. He doesn't have any injuries. He doesn't have any, lasting scars or anything like that. He just feels bad because he was arrested by ICE. Take a listen.
My name is Mubashir Hussein. I am a 20-year-old U.S. citizen from Minneapolis, Minnesota.
No, my name is Zach. I mean, GoFundMe has personal identifying information beyond just your first name. I want to make sure that I wasn't going to give my address out or something like that.
On December 10th, 2025, during my lunch break, I was violently arrested by federal immigration agents. I repeatedly told the agents that I'm a U.S. citizen and I had my ID and passport. Instead, the agents ignored my pleas and forced me to the ground and placed me in a headlock.
Yeah, what do you want to bet that this interaction went very different? Now, obviously, it appears he was arrested, but I would have to guess he was probably acting like some retard shit before this started. So, yes, we are raising funds to support Mubashir's recovery, including trauma-informed mental health therapy and counseling. Of course, he's going to go to a trauma center in the Somali community, right? Medical care for ongoing physical pain and stress-related symptoms, and basic living and recovery expenses while he focuses on healing. He's too afraid to go outside.
The injuries and trauma from that day have stayed with me. Since that incident, I have experienced symptoms of PTSD, intense anxiety in public spaces, panic when I hear whistles, sirens, and car horns, trouble sleeping, constant stress, and emotional exhaustion. I have also experienced ongoing physical pain and tension that started after my detention. I no longer feel safe in my community.
Good, get out.
My family has been affected by this as much as I have. They watch me come home drained and physically hurt. The fear that this could happen again has created constant stress and has changed our lives. I am raising funds to support my recovery, including trauma-informed mental health therapy and counseling, medical care for stress-related symptoms and physical symptoms, basic living and recovery-related expenses while I focus on healing. If you are able to donate, I am very grateful. If not, please consider sharing this page. Thank you.
Absolutely not. We're not going to share that. Mubashir Hussain. Let's see if we can find his GoFundMe. Mubashir. Oh, this is Mubashir Hussain GoFundMe. Support Mubashir. He had $605. He's almost up to $1,200. So yeah, look at his face. I mean, like, I guarantee you he was acting like a fool, and that's the only reason that he got arrested. It's organized by Naima Hussain, probably his mom or something like that. She's like, Mubashir, we have an excellent opportunity here. Let's do this. All right. Now, okay. So Kelly Loeffler and the Small Business Administration have now gone after $88 million in COVID-19 funding that appears to have been fraudulently taken by Planned Parenthood and various affiliates. So these were illegal loans during the COVID-19 pandemic that amounted to a total of $88 million. Kelly Loeffler said at the height of the pandemic, affiliates of Planned Parenthood took $88 million in taxpayer dollars to fund their abortion-on-demand agenda, and the Biden administration made sure they got nearly every cent forgiven, even after the first Trump administration protested. 6 years later, the Trump SBA holds the same conviction. Planned Parenthood Federation of America was never eligible to receive a dime in pandemic era relief from taxpayers. So now the administration is moving to challenge the millions in funding for America's largest abortion provider, just 1 week after the March for Life, where thousands of pro-lifers flocked to Washington, D.C. to advocate for the rights of unborn babies. So earlier today, they sent letters to 38 Planned Parenthood Federation of America Incorporated affiliates, requiring them to prove they were eligible for the more than $88 million in relief funds that they were given through the Paycheck Protection Program. In addition, the Biden administration forgave 34 loans to Planned Parenthood affiliates. Now the SBA is reviewing if Planned Parenthood affiliates misrepresented the size of their organizations or the nature of their affiliation with the national organization so they could illegally qualify for those loans. As part of the review underway, not only will we expose the Planned Parenthood affiliates who took advantage of the American people, we will take every necessary step to force every bad actor to pay them back. Planned Parenthood chapters that don't provide the requested documentation may be determined to have been ineligible for the loan and that subsequent forgiveness. And additionally, affiliates that the SBA finds to have provided incorrect or factually incorrect eligibility certifications will face severe penalties, including repayment of the loan, ineligibility for loan forgiveness in the future, and possible referral for civil or criminal penalties. Put them all in prison. Now, the Paycheck Protection Program ran from April 3rd, 2020 to May 31st of 2021. That was to help small businesses keep employees on payroll amid disruptions that were caused during the closures of the pandemic. Applicants were required to self-certify their size and eligibility for the administration. Though each Planned Parenthood affiliate said they were an independent, qualified entity with fewer than 500 employees per the requirements, the Trump administration found that none of them were eligible due to their affiliation with Planned Parenthood Federation of America, thus together exceeding the 500 employee limit. Joe Biden's regime then forgave many of the loans to Planned Parenthood affiliates without engaging in any kind of meaningful review of their respective applications. So I'm glad to see the SBA is using their authority to look into this and go after money that never should have gone into these people's pockets in the first place. We've had members of Congress previously request an investigation of these PPP loans, and now they are going to see what happens when they F around. They're finding out, my friends. They are finding out. All right, you guys, final thank yous from my friends over here on Pilled. Let's see. I think that we ended off with No Thanks Joe. No Thanks Joe says, thanks for your work, Lisa and Zach. Such a well-researched setup and delivered report. Can you even begin to imagine the amount of headline reports and screen time on mainstream media if this were a synagogue or a mosque? That would be total rage. God bless. Be safe. Thank you so much, and you be safe as well. All right. And Trump won. Thank you very much for the cookie. All right. So, again, I want to know who wrote the script for that Somali kid, because I guarantee you it wasn't anybody in his family. They must be getting coached by some outside entity like a non-governmental organization, a 501c3, perhaps maybe even one of these Antifa lawyers that are on the streets and acting as legal observers. I don't know. All right, you guys, before we go, just a final thank you to the sponsors of the program. My good friend Jessica over at goallgood.com/redpill78. When you use that code to buy any of the bundles that they have on screen or any of the other ones you see on their website, you will get a free sample of their tallow sunscreen. Go All Good products are made with pure tallow moisturizers, 100% grass-fed beef tallow. Every single ingredient they have in their products is in that product for a purpose. It's all hypoallergenic, nutrient-rich formulas. There's no toxins. It's designed to naturally nourish, hydrate, and strengthen your skin using vitamins A, D, E, and K. And if you have any questions about any of the things in the products, you're going to find the information right there on the packaging. This is as natural as it gets, and you will not be disappointed. So you can get hair care products, smoothing serums, their tallow sunscreen, face balms, moisturizers, and, of course, all of their bundles. So this sale and this free offer is good through the 14th of next month. So it is for Valentine's Day, of course. Of course, don't forget about all of my other incredible sponsors, including my friends over at onenessdrops.com, which appears to have been closed on me. Okay. I don't know what it is. Head on over to onenessdrops.com/redpill78, where you can get their chlorine dioxide water purification kits, as well as their mullein extract and their DMSO. I've been using DMSO in so many different ways. Definitely helps out, increases blood flow, and does some amazing things. Chlorine dioxide, clearly good for water purification and so much more. And, of course, you can also get their bundles, which is going to make it a better price. And when you use code REDPILL78, you will get an additional 15% off everything they offer. Of course, Mike Lindell over at MyPillow.com. Use code RP78 to save up to 80% off of his amazing American-made products. My good friend Jordan over at ConsciousStrength.net. This is where I get my methylene blue. Love their Shilajit gummies as well. And, of course, they have green energy electrolytes. You can get collagen. Their vitamin C parasite, if you're trying to get rid of parasites and you want to get that crap out of your body, definitely a great place to go. Of course, my friends over at rncstore.com/RP78 for their amazing apricot-made products, which include B17 and so much more. Definitely check that out. rncstore.com/RP78. And finally, my friends over at My Patriot Supply, prepare with redpill78.com and see what they got going on. All right, you guys, good luck. God bless. I'm going to pass out these gold pills, and I will see you tomorrow right here at 5 p.m. for another episode of Red Pill News Live. Peace. Love you. Hit that like button.